Hi guys, this is lesson 2 in unit 10. We're going to talk about geometric sequence. Let's start by understanding what geometric sequence means. A geometric sequence is a sequence of numbers or terms such that each number or terms is founded by multiplying the previous by a constant number, which is called the common ratio, or as we're gonna give it a symbol of R. What does that mean? Let's take a look at this sequence. We have 2, 6, 18, and 54. If you take a look at this sequence, we notice that 2 is the first term, and to get to the second term, we had to multiply by 3. And we had to do that for every single term to be able to get the next one. So in this sequence, we have a constant ratio, and this ratio can be found by dividing two consecutive numbers. 6 divided by 2 is 3, 18 divided by 2 is 3, 54 divided by 18 is 3. This means that this is a geometric sequence with the first term of 2 and a common ratio of 3. Let's take a look at another example. We have this sequence 1, -2, 4, and we are trying to list the next 4 terms after identifying the first term and R. The first term in the sequence is 1, and to be able to find R, all I need to do is to divide 2 consecutive terms. We're going to divide -2 divided by 1. R equals -2 divided by 1, and the answer is -2. So the common ratio in this example is supposed to be -2. If we multiply -2 by -2, we get 4. So in this case, to get to the fourth term, all I need to do is to multiply 4 by -2. And 4 times -2 is -8. After that, we're going to have to multiply -8 by -2. And -8 times -2 is 16. To get the sixth term, all I need to do is to multiply by -2 again. And 16 times -2 is -32. To get the last term, we multiply by -2 again, and the answer is going to be 64. Now let's talk about the rules for geometric sequence the same way we talked about the rules for the arithmetic sequence in the previous video. So we have the explicit rule, and this is when we write the geometric rule explicitly, and it's also called the general rule, the nth term rule. And this rule is A1 or A sub 1 n equals A sub 1 r to the n minus 1, where an represent any term in the geometric sequence. A1 is the first term, r is the common ratio, and n is the order of the term in the sequence. Now, to express the rule recursively, or to write down the recursive rule, the formula is A sub n equals r times A sub n minus 1. An represent any term, r is the common ratio, and A sub n minus 1 is the previous term to A sub n. Now let's take a look at this example where we have to identify the first term, the common ratio, unless the first 5 terms of the following geometric sequence. We have a sub n equals 3 times 2 to the n minus 1. This geometric sequence follow the formula that we had for all geometric sequences. In this sequence, we have the first term equals 3, and R, which is the common ratio, is equal to 2. This makes identifying the first term and the common ratio makes things easier when we need to list the terms, because by doing this, I already have the first term, which is 3, and all I need to do to get the second term is to multiply by the term by the common ratio. So 3 times 2, which is 6, and then 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 times 2 is 24, and 24 times 2 is 48. And this is the list of the first 5 terms of this sequence. Now let's take a look at this example where we have to identify the first term, the common ratio, unless the first 5 terms of the following recursive sequence. As you can see, we have a sub n equals 5 times a sub n minus 1, and the first term is negative 2. In this sequence, we already have the first term, which is negative 2. And following the formula for or the recursive formula for geometric sequences, we know that R is equal to 5. That means to get to the second term, all I need to do is to multiply negative 2 by 5, which is negative 10. And to get to the third term, I need to multiply negative 10 by 5, which is negative 50. And the next one is negative 50 times 5, which is negative 250. And the next one is multiplying negative 250 by 5, which is 1,200, negative 1,250. Now let's take a look at this example where we have to write the geometric rule for the sequence explicitly and recursively. We have a geometric sequence of 1, negative 5, 25, and negative 125. In the question we already know that this is a geometric sequence, and we need to identify 2 values to be able to write the rules. The first thing is the first term, which is in this sequence is 1. And the second thing that we need is to find the common ratio. And the common ratio is always dividing two consecutive terms. So I have negative 5 dividing by 1, which is negative 5. So the common ratio is negative 5. If we divide 25 by negative 5, we get negative 5. And if we divide negative 125 by 25, we get negative 5. As long as you divide the later term by the previous term, you will get the right ratio. So now following the rules or the formula for the explicit rule, I have a sub n equals a1, which is in this case 1, times r, which is negative 5, raised to the n minus 1. Now, it's very important to put the parentheses around the ratio, because the parentheses represent multiplication. And if we ignore these parentheses, we're going to end up with 1 minus 5, which means we're subtracting 5 to the n minus 1 from 1, which is not the case. And then this is the explicit rule. And to write the recursive rule, I need to follow the recursive formula for the geometric sequence, which is a sub n equals, each time we'll multiply in the previous term by the common ratio, which is -5. So I'm going to end up with -5 times a sub n minus 1, and I need to identify the first term. So I need to write down that a sub 1, or the first term, is 1. And this is how we write the rules for a geometric sequence explicitly and recursively.